404 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Atlanta.
Please tell me that is Sarah from Atlanta.
Is this Sarah from Atlanta?
Oh my God, how happy am I to get through to some people who will probably care about what I have to say. First off,
Sarah,
I am a professional.
I'm sorry to hear about the things that are going on in your personal life.
Well, I hear that you care about what's going on with the signage, like the interpretive signage in the national parks.
Yes.
So I am a professional archaeologist calling to tell you that the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, who has been stacked with Trump loyalists, specifically a man by the name of Travis Voiles, has redlined and rewritten a very important piece of implementing regulations that we have in archaeology and historic preservation called Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act, right? What Section 106 does is it requires that any federal project that uses taxpayer funding, that requires a federal permit, has to go through something called Section 106 review, which is consultation with tribal nations, local governments, the public, and state governments. They have reduced all of that consultation to agency discretion, cut tribal consultation, and said that they are only going to do this based on a cost-benefit analysis. Now, let me tell you what happened before Section 106 was passed, is we saw the Federal Highway Administration put I-95 through one of the largest enslaved burial grounds in the United States and just left the bodies of enslaved and trafficked Africans laying on the side of the road.
Oy.
They demolished the Sweet Auburn district, which was a lucrative black historic generational district in Atlanta, to put the downtown connector. We saw Japantown in San Francisco reduced from 40 blocks to 4 after Japanese American internment from Japanese families who had nothing to do with Pearl Harbor, right? Section 106 is what keeps the federal government accountable. And it sounds like you guys are aware that heritage and its preservation is deeply political. You know, we saw Mussolini in the early 1900s just level Jewish ghettos because it didn't fit the narrative of what he wanted Italy to be. And if we do away with Section 106 and we cut that state, local, and public involvement, I really think that this paves one of the widest pathways for fascist narratives and the destruction of non-renewable cultural resources for indigenous people, queer history, black people, you name it, in America. And it's extremely dangerous, but nobody really thinks, you know, one of the things that we struggle with as archaeologists and historic preservationists is everybody thinks that archaeology is something that you do, you know, far away in an ancient time, and we're doing those large excavations like you see on Nat Geo or the Discovery Channel. But truthfully, what we're doing is we're ensuring that the sites that can help us tell the story of everyday Americans that predate even the modern political boundaries of the United States have their stories told and have their experiences heard, and that Section 106 can provide that avenue for indigenous people and everyday Americans to be able to have a voice in how the federal government is affecting their cultural heritage. There is so much evidence that supports the fact that cultural resources provide communities with identity, a sense of place, community cohesion, economic benefit through heritage tourism. And if we do away with it, we can actively deprive communities of all those things as well. And I just wanted somebody that cares about society and culture to be aware that this was going on. And so currently, these changes are in the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, and I have no doubt that the people with the most influence are the secretaries of USDA and the Department of the Interior, because they want to be able to mine for resources where indigenous cultural heritage is in the way.
Is there a public comment period, or do they just ignore it or rewrite it, or how does that work?
Well, we don't know yet. So right now it's in OIRA, and it could go one of two ways. It could be published in the Federal Register for public comment, hopefully with a 30-day comment period, or it could be published and go to an interim final rule and immediately become the new regulation. We don't know. We don't know. This has all been very secretive.
Do you know anybody who's writing about this or reporting on it?
I've seen some reporting in the New York Times. However, a lot of the rhetoric is distracted with like the triumphal arch and preservation concerns in downtown DC. But I really think that that's a distraction because I think that this is being driven by the energy sector, right?
Of course.
Of course.
Well, I mean, I think there's two things. Honestly, there's two things. There is just a tremendous amount of racism that is in this administration. And when the racists and the corporatists can get together and have, and it's a twofer, that's when you start to see this stuff. And, you know, the corporatists are fine with like, pull down the, you know, this plaque about Harriet Tubman and Faneuil Hall, because for every one of those you do, you're going to do, or, you know, for every two of those you do, you're going to do one, which is going to allow us to, you know, mine on indigenous burial grounds, or, you know, put a shopping mall in, you know, a preservation site or whatever it is. I mean, that's the
exactly
way it works.
Right.
And I mean, literally, Brian and I were talking about this morning, and I think, you know, this era reminds me of the Bush era in the sense that, like, people are aware that you know, Trump is building an arch, or he's like you know, an asshole, or he's falling asleep, or whatever it is. But this type of assault on our government, on the structure of things, these are, you don't unbuild that shopping mall. A, B, also, like, the ability for the next president, even if it's, you know, even if it's me, like doing exactly what I want me to do, is limited by resources, by personnel, by, you know, just awareness. Like, it's not like they're sitting in the government right now going, well, make sure you put this on the master list of things that we fucked up. And by fucked up, I mean like purposely destroyed, so that the incoming president can just go down the list to fix all these things. All this stuff is submerged. It's hidden. There's barely any reporting on it.
That's right.
You know, we've got 500 stories about Hassan Piker, but we're not going to talk about this story. Like, that's
right.
If you have, you know, I imagine that there's like, are there trade magazines? Is there academic, like, if you have anybody who's reporting on this or writing about it in any way, or if you hear anything that's new, I imagine you're on like email lists and stuff like that with, you know, other archaeologists who are tracking this stuff. Send us an email at majorityreporters@gmail.com to give us a heads up.
I sure will. I absolutely will. And in the meantime, if anybody else is interested in tracking it, they can follow Cultural Heritage Partners, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, or the Society for American Archaeology.
Will you send us those places so that we can follow it too?
You bet I will.
All right. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.